All right, so the person that I'm bringing up right now is somebody that, how long we've known each other, TR, at this point?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it's been at least, what, a couple years?
Yeah.
So we met at a networking, well, it wasn't networking, it was, what was that? It was an accelerator.
SBA.
What was the name of the accelerator?
SBA Thrive.
SBA Thrive. We met at SBA Thrive. Anybody ever did a SBA Thrive accelerator? So it's something that's provided by SBA. It's a 6-month program. It's no cost. And you meet people like TR and myself, right? And then other people as well. And me and TR, like it's not about, his topic is failing forward. And I don't even know if he'll touch on this, but we tried to put together something amazing, but it didn't work out.
Yes, we did.
But the reason why the liquidity event exists is because of that. And even though that didn't work, this is. I'm meeting great people. Everybody's learning. We're bringing down some of the foremost knowledgeable experts from around the country. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. But without further ado, please welcome T.R. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. All right, so just like he said, my name is T.R. Richardson. I'm not going to take too much of your time tonight. I know the tacos are delicious. I know the lemonade is lovely. Please tell the lemonade lady, do not leave yet. I have intentionally waited until after I speak because I want to hold my bladder. But I am wanting some of that lemonade. I saw somebody with, where you at? There you are. Hold that up. What is that? What is it? It looks amazing and I need some of it in my life. So just like Randolph said, my name is T.R. Richardson. I'm the Chief Training Officer at Richwood International. We're a human capital development agency. We provide high impact performance development, executive coaching, workforce development, training, coaching, and consulting. And I'm here tonight to talk about failure. As you can see, I am a SME or a SME on failing forward because I failed many, many times in my life. And I failed so many times that I've forgotten some of the times. Times like Randolph just mentioned, I completely forgot that this event that we're sitting in right now happened because he and I were putting an event together in Alabama. It was all, we were all good to go, set in stone at Tuscaloosa University up there in Alabama. And then the election happened. And then all of that stuff kind of got paused. But from that, we had created a support event called the Liquidity event to be able to promote that. That went away, but this stayed. So everyone here is sitting in the product of a failure forward. This is a real live example. We wouldn't be sitting together if we weren't comfortable with failing over there and unintentionally succeeding over here. And sometimes that happens in business. I've done that all of my life, and I wanted to be able to share some stories about that, some real world testimonies and scenarios that I've gone through, because I've got a lot of people that have been coming to me saying, oh, TR, you're so successful. You're great. You're up for this PS27 Mentor of the Year Finalist Award. You're doing all of this stuff with the SBA and the Chamber of Commerce and Beaver Street Enterprise Center and the Link and all of these different places. And I sat to myself and said, man, everyone is coming to me saying I'm such a great success, but I don't always feel like a great success. Everyone's coming to me saying, oh, I see what you're doing. I see, great job, but they're not seeing those times where I didn't get it right, where I was working it out. They're just seeing the finished product. Sort of like, we don't see the 9 months that it takes to make a movie, but we do go and spend the 2 hours that it takes to watch it. That is exactly how business, how entrepreneurship, how life can be sometimes. So I want to, for all of the people who think TR is so great, I came to tell you some of my failure stories. Starting with this one right here. Imagine this, being a high school senior, 6 weeks before graduation. You're about to graduate, you're about to walk across the stage, you open what you believe is your diploma, but instead, It is a letter of expulsion. Not saying congratulations, but saying, please leave our campus. 6 weeks before graduation, 6 weeks before I'm supposed to get that high school diploma, that grandma, that mom, that auntie, that everybody said, you don't got to go to college, but you at least got to get that high school diploma. You know what I'm talking about. I'm 6 weeks before that, and it feels like my world is about to crash down because now I don't know which way I'm going to go. I don't know where I'm going to graduate from because now I need to get a high school diploma in order to even go to college to that next level of life. This was one of my first big failures that I went through. But here's the truth that I didn't know then. I thought it was the end of something, but it turns out that it's the beginning because we do not run away from failures. The most successful people that I've come across, and I've coached in person over 400,000 people. I've trained or coached over 400,000 people in my career and in my tenure. And what I know is that you don't become successful by avoiding failure. You don't become successful by being afraid of failure. Success, the cement to success, is often failure. The foundation to success is often failure. And that's something that we've got to be able to get comfortable with because you will fail over and over and over and over and over again. Take it from one of the greatest performers of all time. We all want to be great performers in business, in sales, and whatever it is that you're doing. He wanted to be great at what he was doing. Everybody knows this young man right here, MJ, the airman himself. We know that he can fly without wings. But we didn't see him shooting in the gym, as the young people said. We didn't see him missing that shot and missing that shot and missing that shot just so he could make that one game-winning shot. And that's what each of us are trying to do in our own respective businesses. We're trying to make the shot. We're trying to hit the goal. We have revenue goals. You have sales goals, all of those different things. And this is from MJ himself. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And because I failed, that is why I succeed. So I want you all to get comfortable leaning into and leaning up against failure because it's not something that we avoid. It's not something that we're looking for ways to go around it or to go above it. No, we want to lean into it because the only way is through. Not around, not above, but through. And that's something that I know everybody in this room has the ability to be able to persevere through. But it is a skill that has to be developed. So whether you're one of the greatest of all time or if you are just trying to be the greatest at what you do, get comfortable, just like that child who's trying to go from a four-wheeled bicycle to one with two wheels. You may fall a little bit, but you're not going to stay down on the ground because you know what your mission is, you know what your vision is, you know what your destination is. So you're not going to stay on the ground because you got a vision, you got a mission, you got a destination of riding that bike with two wheels. So out of all the pains, out of all the scrapes, out of all of the owls and cries and all of that, we're going to get up, get back on the bike, figure out what we didn't do right that time. Maybe I went over a curb. I'm not going to go over that curb again. I'm going to learn from my failure. And that's going to help me get better the next time so that I can ultimately succeed. And these are concepts that I want us to be able to take in business because many of us, we have paralysis by analysis because we're afraid. We talked about how this event happened because Randolph and I were doing another event out of state somewhere. That event was going to happen. They told us yes, but then the election happened and they were afraid. They were afraid. They were afraid of the unknown. They were afraid of what happens if we do something and then now our funding gets cut. What happens if we piss off the wrong person who is in control of our destiny? Fear keeps you playing small, avoiding risk, and also negating opportunities. Because when you avoid a risk, you forfeit the opportunity. And sometimes, many times, in order to be successful, you've got to take some sort of risk. If you want to own your own business, if you want to not just be that person that says, hey, I bought a business on paper. Yes, I own a business according to SunBiz. Yes, I own a business according to my taxes, according to my accountant. That's totally different from the person who's taking the risk to work for a year, save all that they have, and then leave their job to do their business full time. There's a risk in that, but there's also the opportunity for a reward. So no risk, no reward. So we don't want to fear failure. We don't want to avoid risk, because when we do, we miss growth. And I don't know if mama didn't tell you, if grandmama didn't tell you, but growth is right on the edge of uncomfortability. That's why as we were growing up, we had growing pains. It was a little bit painful in our joints, but we needed that pain in order to grow and in order to get a little bit better and a little bit stronger. So here's my question to you all. For everyone who's a little bit afraid of failure, whether you want to admit it out loud or not, what if failure wasn't the enemy, but it was actually the teacher that you've been avoiding? What if that very thing that deep down, once again, you don't have to speak on it, but you know, when you're in the mirror, when you're at home by yourself, when it's late night and you're supposed to be working, but you're doing something else, you know, if you're honest with yourself, what that thing is that you may be afraid of. Maybe it's failure. Maybe you're afraid of success. These are honest conversations that you got to be able to have with yourself on the road to getting to where you're at to be, from where you're at to where you want to be. So in my little 10 or 15 minutes that I've got left here, I want to really teach you 3 things as it relates to failure. Why is it essential that we fail in order to succeed? What's the mindset that we need when we failure to make us not afraid of it, but to embrace it? And then what are some simple tools that will help us not only fall when we fail, but to fail forward and learn something so that we take a step forward and not 3 steps backwards. So what are we talking about here? How do we want to look at failure? Remember, the mind to the body is like an engine to a car. So if you're not taking care of your engine, your car isn't going to go anywhere. If you're not watching your intake, if you're not fueling it up with the appropriate fuel, your car isn't going to go anywhere. Same thing with your mind and your body. What are you telling yourself in your mind? Is it something that you failed at that secretly you're ashamed of? And that shame is keeping you from taking that next step and trying again. Is it something that you deep down you feel like, hey, I'm not good enough? Hey, I want to do it, but I don't necessarily believe in myself as much as I say that I believe in myself. These are honest conversations that we can have with ourselves about how we're thinking, because those thoughts are hindering or helping us behave or act in a certain way that's going to actually connect us to that success. So I want you to have those honest conversations with yourself, because if you're viewing failure as shame, I want you to view it as feedback. It's just information. And we're going to intake that information and use it to be able to help us create the output that we want. But we can only do that if we're not afraid of the information. So don't view it as shame. View it as feedback. View it as data. View it as information that's going to help me figure out what I didn't do right this time, make a couple of tweaks, try again, and see if we can get it right next time. Because this is what the most successful people are doing. They're failing, they're failing, they're failing, they're failing, they're failing, they're failing, and they finally get it right. And it seems like they were lucky, but they weren't lucky. They were just persistent. And remember, consistency plus adversity equals persistence. Many of us can be consistent. We can do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again without anything in our way. But what happens when we get a little bit of adversity? What happens when we got a goal, but then somebody tells us no, and we receive a little bit of adversity? What do we do? How do we respond? Do we adjust our whole plan because now we don't believe or don't have the courage like we did in the beginning? Or is no just an acronym for next opportunity for us because that's how we think about it in our mind. And that's ultimately going to help us do something different and align with that in our actions. So reframe that failure in your mind so that we can do something. And one of the most prominent things that I have, it's right in our face every day. This man, no matter how you feel about him, no matter if you're red or blue, this is one of the most persistent failures that I've ever seen in my life. Think about if you took the same attitude that he took to your goals. What would you do? How would it look if you had a goal in your mind and you wouldn't take no for an answer? How would it look if you were going to find a way because you wanted to make this happen and come hell or high water, you were going to find a way to create a solution to your problem? If all of us took the opportunity to be able to overcome these obstacles, no matter if it's a bankruptcy, no matter if it's a felony, I can't tell you how many people that I grew up with that as soon as they go to prison and they get re-entered, they say, "Hey, my life is going to be a certain way because I'm a felon." This man has over 30 felonies. And he is sitting in the office of the President of the United States, the highest office on the planet Earth. What if you had a similar mindset about your business, about accomplishing your goals, about overcoming your obstacles and pushing through your pain points? So no matter, like I said, whatever your political view is, I want you to think about how your past failures don't have to define your future possibility. And this is just one of many examples of people who have failed and failed and failed and failed, but they haven't allowed yesterday's failure keep them from tomorrow's successes. And that's exactly what I want for you to be able to apply to your situation, whether it's a business, whether it's a goal, no matter what it is for yourself in your specific situation. So what's the 3R framework that I want you to do? Reframe, reflect, re-engage. So I need you to reflect on what that conversation is, what that situation is, what didn't go right. Just kind of using our example of a child falling down on a bicycle, they need to reflect. What about this situation caused me to fall down? Was it I hit the curb? Was it I wasn't paying attention and my wheel hit the grass? Was the sidewalk crack right there too big? Was I not pedaling fast enough? I didn't have enough momentum. I need to reflect on that situation that I fell down. After I've reflected, now I need to reframe this because sometimes when we fall down, we catch some scrapes. Sometimes when we fall down, we get a little bit of pain. And sometimes that pain, depending on how deep and how bad it is, can keep us from doing things in the future. This is where you have to control your mind and reframe that narrative and that mindset. Not allowing the pain of me falling down off of my bicycle to reframe my mind and keep me from getting back up, watching that crack, paying more attention next time, and being more successful. So I've got to reflect, reframe, and most importantly, I've got to re-engage. This is where the magic happens. This is where you take that information and you turn theory into practice. This is where the liquidity event can be born. Because now you can reflect, you can reframe, you can learn, and you can re-engage. This is how the magic happens. You got to take that information and take that education and turn it into application. Because that is ultimately where the impact is going to happen. And that's what we want here. So a couple strategies here before I let you go. How do we make failures useful and how do we build resilience through systems? Use small bets. Number one, I like to pilot everything. So before you take things wide, before you make it company wide, before you send it out to everybody, pilot it. This is what the big boys do. Starbucks, before they add the new drink all over the nation, they pilot it in Southern California in a couple cities. These are strategies that the big boys do, and you can do the same thing too. So pilot, use small bets, and learn before you scale. My mentor used to say, go be an inch wide and a mile deep instead of being a mile wide and an inch deep. So we want to go deep, we want to pilot, and we want to learn before we scale and before we move on to the next one. Have those rapid debriefs. Conduct after action reviews. This is one of the things that people don't do, and they're leaving information on the table because they're so afraid of whatever that failure is that they don't stop to assess the situation, what happened, and potentially be able to learn some information that they can use to avoid the situation from happening again. They just get emotional. Ow, it hurts. Ow, I don't like it. You hurt me. Now I'm responding and I'm being emotional to you instead of focusing on what I can do to change the situation from happening in the future. So you've got to take a moment to stop and actually do some assessments and not miss that step because we're so emotional or because we're so hurt. And the last but not least, you got to normalize a culture where possessing the courage to fail is common and it's welcome. Some simple things that you can do, especially if you have small kids, if you got little kids. When my kids get into the car, I love to ask them, hey, how did you fail today? Seems like a weird question. But it can be something so small, so small. Hey, I failed at getting a 100 on my math test. Hey, I failed at remembering to ask the teacher a question before I go to lunch. I'm just getting them into the mindset of this is something that you can do to be able to be comfortable making mistakes, take that information from your mistakes, and use it to modify your process moving forward to be successful. So creating a culture where it's normal to fail, it's okay to fail, it's actually welcomed, creates people who are courageous enough to take the opportunity. Because through that opportunity, they may fail, but they also may be successful. And if you're not trying, you have no opportunity to make any of the shots that you don't take the opportunity to make or miss. So a quick recap before I let you go. Failure isn't the problem. The real problem is avoiding failure altogether, which means that if we avoid failure, we also avoid growth. We also, when we avoid risk, we also avoid opportunity. These are the things that you need to be able to grow and scale your business. You've got to take advantage of some opportunities. You've got to be able to grow because that's how you scale, and that's how you not only scale, but sustain. So failure isn't the option, the problem. Avoiding it is. And when we run from failure, we run from the very experiences that we say that we want, those experiences that build character, competence, and competence. So remember, every failure is like a seed of success for the future, and it is up to you to plant that seed. So I want you all to understand here before I let you go, what if failure might actually be your fuel? That's the question that I want you to leave you with. And what are you going to do the next time you fail? Are you going to let that fuel sit on the ground and evaporate in the sun? Or are we going to learn from that lesson, take that fuel, and use it to be able to get us from where we're at to where we know we can be moving forward in the future? I know everyone in this room has the ability to take advantage of that opportunity and to be able to use your failures as fertilizer for your future. So remember, I'm T.R. Richardson, subject matter expert on failure. Success is not final, and failure is not fatal. It is just the courage to continue that counts. And that is from Winston Churchill, one of the most successful people in politics historically across the nation, across the world, excuse me. So with that being said, I will take my seat and go and get my lemonade, just like I told you I would. I want to leave you all with this here, because we sit down as a part of one of our projects, we sit down with some of the most successful people, and we talk about the value of failure. I had a great conversation with Mr. Love. I had a great conversation with Dr. Janetta Best Cole. I've had a great conversation with many different people who are courageous enough to talk about their story. So if you have the courage to talk about some of your successes, I would love to have you on the show here. It's called Worth Failing Forward TV. We're about to start filming our second season of our mini podcast. It's about 15, 20 minutes. I would love to have you on the show, have a conversation with me afterwards. And remember, your story isn't something to be afraid of. I want you all to fail forward and use that information to help other people fail forward as well. So have a conversation with me afterwards. My name is T.R. Richardson. I appreciate your ear. It's a little acronym for energy, attention, and respect. Any questions before I go and get my lemonade?
Outstanding.
All right. Thank you. Have a great evening.
I'm just sitting over here if you want to have some additional conversation.